for the gas industry. If you approve the Dominion Cove Point LNG export facility without fully understanding the hazards of the project, my neighbors and I have dedicated a significant part of our lives over the past year to understand the threats that this $3.8 billion project will pose to us. I wish I had a reason to be confident that you, commissioners, have done the same. I wish I had a reason to think that you viewed as significant the health and safety of my community, the climate, the Chesapeake Bay, and all the communities that are in the way of Dominion's fracked gas exports. But sadly, I don't have that confidence. For more than a year, we've been pleading with you to provide the information on the full effects from this proposal in the form of a comprehensive environmental impact statement. This should include, at minimum, a basic human safety study, a quantitative risk assessment. Yet, at every turn, you have lowered the bar of scrutiny for Dominion, even as evidence of threats to our communities have continued to rise. Cove Point is closer to people's homes than at any other proposed export site. Dominion's application grossly misrepresented the population of Lusby. They didn't even list our town, the very town where their plant is located. They forgot 39,732 people who live in the surrounding area. They missed almost 90% of us. Cove Point is not a remote site. Inside the 2-mile radius for evacuation, there are over 8,000 people. If it's built, Cove Point will be only the second LNG export terminal ever built in the lower 48. It will have the unique and terrifying distinction of being the only LNG export terminal in the history of the industry ever to be built in such a densely populated residential area. Dominion calls itself a good neighbor because it has neighbors. It sits right across the street from homes, dozens of them, next door to a public park. A large-scale liquefaction train filled with highly pressurized explosive propane refrigerant will be operating 24/7 about 800 feet from where children are playing, sleeping, and getting on their school bus. Never was the need for remote siting for regulations more critical than for this project. I didn't come here empty-handed today. We know that federal budgets are tight, so I brought with me a check for $79. This is a grant from our community group, from Calvert Citizens for a Healthy Community. Please use it to buy a copy of the latest safety standards that are developed by the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA 59A, the Standard for Production, Storage, and Handling of Liquefied Natural Gas, 2013 edition. The 2013 edition was written to safeguard the lives of citizens living close to the LNG terminals. Lusby residents were horrified to learn in the draft environmental assessment that FERC applied the 2001 National Fire Protection Association standards. 2001 does not adequately address the dangers of LNG export, equipment, and processes. It fails to incorporate the lessons learned from the catastrophic explosions in Skipta, Algeria in 2004. That disaster flattened steel buildings, killed 27 people, and injured more than 70. 2013 edition is the first to wisely require a quantitative risk assessment to assess the risks of off-site to the residents. We believe that you know full well that an analysis of the risks to residents at Cove Point would shock the conscience of America, because such an analysis couldn't help but show how much our government is willing to dump on the shoulders of its citizens to benefit a private enterprise. But just in case a budget issue is keeping FERC from applying the latest safety standards, we wanted to pitch in and do our part. Our lives are at least worth $79. Please buy and use the 2013 NFPA 59A standards. I'm not here just for my family or for my neighborhood. I'm also here standing in solidarity with all of those who couldn't come to DC today, from the fracking fields of Pennsylvania to the playgrounds in Myersville, Maryland. We stand in opposition to the web of pipelines and compressor stations that are turning our rural, beautiful towns into sacrifice zones as a direct result of this and related projects.